Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking sports locally and nationally. Join the conversation on our social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go.
Instead of looking deep inside, every word I have to say, keep it simple.
Welcome back for another edition of the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. What is going on, everybody? My name is Ken M. Joining me in the studio, as always, you know him. He is the co-host. His name is Padawan J.
Hello.
Coach Duffy is on assignment. Maybe he's on his way to Kansas City. We are not sure, but fear not. We are still going to be delivering you all the sports information you need to know about. Definitely joining the conversation on social media. You can find all the links on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. And remember, use the hashtag ODPH. Pad, kick it off this week. What do we got?
Probably we had a show planned out, and we had all our segments planned out.
Yep.
What we were going to talk about planned out,
Yep.
and then Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs decided to upend the whole thing by extending Patrick Mahomes to a 10-year contract that is worth estimated like $430 some odd million, something absurd.
It's been in range of 400 to I've even seen 503 now.
I think it can go up to 503 if he hits every incentive on it, which could happen, but who knows? But no, the contract, nevertheless, I know it's bigger than Mike Trout's contract, which makes it the biggest contract for an athlete in North American sports. Probably not the world, but who knows? But nonetheless, it is the biggest contract. Here it is. Adam Schefter says the deal is worth $450 million over the next 10-year period and could be worth up to $503 million. The extension includes a $140 million injury guarantee as well as a no-trade clause. In the words of Danny McBride, dollar bills, y'all.
Wow.
Word is, rumor has it, Patrick Mahomes has been seen at some Brinks facilities looking at buying a Brinks truck because he's going to need a few.
This contract is absolutely wild to think about. But let's put it in context, though. Patrick Mahomes led the Kansas City Chiefs to a Super Bowl win.
Yep.
Very dramatic fashion.
One league MVP, one Super Bowl MVP. Also moved Whataburger to come into Kansas City.
Yes. He has definitely been the face of the franchise over the past few years.
And the face of the Muppets.
Yeah, that is true. It's debatable.
Yeah.
It is very much so.
Hi-ho.
But with everything he's done in Kansas City since he took the starting role from Alex Smith, I mean, he was mentored for a year, then really took the ball and ran with it and was putting up video game-like stats.
And video game-like moves.
Yeah. I mean, to see him play, he is definitely an exciting player to watch. Might be one of the most exciting players in the NFL.
Might be this generation's Michael Vick in a way, where Michael Vick, obviously with his legs, was doing things on the football field that were considered video game-like.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes, not his legs, more so his arms.
Yeah, his arms and his passing, I mean, is just absolutely insane. Just what he can pull off of the football. And to even see how he led Kansas City to the Super Bowl, too. I mean, take into context, started out very strong, got to the playoffs, had to face Houston, was down 28-0 at one point, and scored 28 unanswered within the first half to bring him back, I believe. I mean, just what he's been able to do, and especially be the face of the franchise, be the catalyst for that offense that is just putting up ridiculous amount of points each week. To be in the AFC West, let alone the AFC against him, is no easy task now.
No.
And to be signed for 10 years, which we have to remember, too, in football, that does mean a lot and it doesn't mean a lot.
10 years does put it through because it's on top of the remaining 2 years he has on his rookie deal right now. So they've got him locked up for the next 12.
Yeah.
So he's locked up through 2031, 2032, which, side note, the Kansas City Chiefs will be paying Patrick Mahomes for 2031 to 2032. The Mets will still be paying Bobby Bonilla. Thank you, Mets fans.
Yes, we forgot to say last week it was Bobby Bonilla Day, if you're a Mets fan, for the greatest contract in sports history.
I don't know. The Ichiro one's pretty good. Side note, Ichiro's got a similar contract, but it's got interest.
Yes.
But I digress.
It's debatable, but this contract, though, for Patrick Mahomes, I mean, when it was first announced, the deal had to get done.
Oh, yeah.
I don't fault the Chiefs for making the deal.
No.
I really don't.
But and especially with all the accolades and all of the talent and this and that, You knew it was, and I get the feeling that the Chiefs ownership and everyone in the Chiefs front office knew it was going to be a big deal. So it was one of those things, let's just rip the Band-Aid off now and get it over with rather than, delay the inevitable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as time would have gone on, and you would figure that Patrick Mahomes is not looking to fall off by any stretch of the means. He's definitely going to be more consistent as he's going. He's still very young in his career. We have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City needed to make plans for the future. And with this contract, it is cap-friendly for the most part, but it's only going to give them so much, though, going down the road. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing we have to remember with this, because the cap deal, to sign him for a 10-year deal for football, you don't hear that often.
Mm-hmm.
That you only hear maybe 5-6 years, and team options and that whole nine.
Well, and I'm looking at his contract on Spotrac.com. The next couple of years aren't terrible because you look at his contract for this coming year, base salary $825,000 with a $4.5 million signing bonus, and then he's got a $5.3 million cap hit, with a total cash of about $11 million. And it kind of stays that way for the next couple of years. I would say the 2020, let's see, where is it? 2024, 2025, and 2026, he has a base salary of about $2.5 million. Where it starts to get real interesting is 2027, where he has a base contract of $10 million.
Yeah. That is where it's going to really start picking up. So for right now, that window of opportunity to be consistently in the Super Bowl, you have to be realistic about it. Kansas City is definitely built for a long haul right now. A good 5-year window, I would say.
Yeah.
That this is the time to strike for him. But after that, it's going to get very dicey. And you don't know how the team is going to be in that stage.
And it's going to put him in a very, New England Patriots with Tom Brady type scenario where you might need to replace some pieces because guys retire, guys get hurt, guys sign elsewhere. And, looking at the Chiefs' salary cap, they don't got a lot of spending room. According to, again, Spotrac.com, they've got the second to lowest amount of cap space available, only ahead of the New England Patriots. Apparently, the Kansas City Chiefs have about $3.5 million in cap space. That's not a lot of room.
It's not a lot. And signing Mahomes for this deal is going to hurt them in that aspect. But then again, you sign a perennial MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Long term,
yeah,
which is smart for them. They had to sign him. Like I say, I can't stress enough. I don't fault them for making the move.
No,
but now you've done a precedent for quarterbacks in the NFL.
Which Dak Prescott is currently licking his chops down in Dallas.
Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson in Houston. That was one of the names that started floating around. That immediately after his contract got signed, his teammates were already tweeting, "Well, what's he going to get in Houston?"
Oh yeah.
And now this is where you have to really be careful with your money if you're running a team in the NFL.
Right.
Take a look at how Russell Wilson got paid in Seattle and how that's been a hindrance for a certain degree about bringing free agents to Seattle.
Yeah.
You almost have to wonder if your quarterback is looking for this kind of payday, what's that going to do for the rest of your team? Like I say, right now the contract is very well structured for the next couple of years. So Kansas City's window to strike is now. They're definitely going to be doing that. But once you get to the year where his salary goes up to $10 million,
right,
this is where you're really going to see the change in the team. And plus, they can also cancel the contract at any time. This is the NFL. They can find ways to get out of contracts. The only thing that is guaranteed is the signing bonus.
Right.
So that being said, Kansas City has that window to strike now. Can they sign their team long term and be consistent? Because you have to figure eventually, Father Time catches up with teams, and for Kansas City too, if they're going to be consistently good. Which right now you have to say so. Looking at that team, when does it fall off, and when is that going to really affect your cap? Because if Patrick Mahomes, let's say he starts tailing off, just hypothetically, you're now stuck with that quarterback for that amount of money.
Yeah,
long term. Is that really going to help or hurt you?
Especially when you look at some of the last few years in this contract where, like I mentioned, when he's 31 years old, he's getting paid $10 million in his base salary. And then with everything else, so he gets $10 million base salary. He gets a roster bonus of $49.4 million, a workout bonus of $550,000. and then a cap hit, which is a total cap hit just about $60 million. And then you look at the years afterwards. 32 years old, he'll be getting paid, a base salary of $13 million, and after everything's said and done, a cap hit of yearly cash of $44.4 million. You'll be paying a 30-plus-year-old quarterback who, guys have played good at that age, but you've also had, I feel, more not play good at that age than you have played good. Are you going to be really comfortable, and this is the risk the Chiefs are taking, if this contract, they see this contract all the way through, are you going to be comfortable, willing to pay a 33, 34, 35-year-old quarterback who may not be as good as he once was, almost, $45, $50 million?
That's going to be the problem they're going to have.
Yeah.
I mean, short term, it's not a problem.
No.
Short term, it's a smart move.
No.
But once you start getting in the back end, I mean, it's almost like a baseball contract.
Yeah.
To a degree.
It's a A-Rod in the last few years of his contract where the production wasn't there, but nothing you could do about it.
Right. In Kansas City, could always make a move at that point.
Right.
But you have to wonder, would they want to really invest into a quarterback for long term unless he was going to be the real deal? Mahomes is. And like I say, I can't stress enough. The deal makes sense for Kansas City to do, especially coming off the Super Bowl. You never know what's going to happen with players.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to be that motivated to come back? I mean, that's one thing with pro athletes. We don't know.
No.
Because once you get the taste of winning, either they get motivated or they get very humbled.
Yeah.
And when they get humbled, they decide to start putting on the brakes a little bit. They're almost going through the motions. We've seen this happen in a lot of teams, that once they win, they think they can just flick it on like a switch and go pick up where they left off.
Right.
It doesn't happen, and especially with the NFL, too. We have to remember that they have one of the best, if not the best, salary cap in all of sports. Every season, every team, for the most part, has the opportunity to really make themselves into contenders, whether it's the draft or whether it's the off-season moves.
Yeah.
Because with a hard cap that they have, they can definitely build on their rosters. And one thing with the NFL, too, it's almost a copycat league for a degree, that these teams really scout opponents very well, that somebody could have an MVP-type season one year and be forgotten the next year because defensive coordinators and head coaches start finding tendencies. I mean, this happens all through sports. The great players will be consistent throughout.
Yeah.
But to be consistently great and not have a drop-off, that's the true test.
Right, and I do want to mention we did have Coach, while he's not here, he did chime in on the Patrick Mahomes deal. He said, quote, "It's the worst thing that could have happened to Dak, because if he is pushing to be the highest paid quarterback over a Super Bowl champ and arguably the best quarterback statistical and eyeball test-wise, he's out of his goddamn mind," close quote.
And fact.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing for NFL franchises.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. Don't get me wrong. Dak is, at least at this point, is a good, if not okay, quarterback. Is he on a, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes level? No, but he's good. I hope he proves me wrong. I never want to see a quarterback flounder in the NFL. I never wish that on anybody. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well. I want to see him earn what they get. And the same for Deshaun Watson. He's a good quarterback, but neither of those guys is worth what Patrick Mahomes is making.
No, definitely not. I mean, that's the argument that you're going to have now for franchises, because now your quarterbacks are seeing this and saying, well, what about me?
Right.
Well, take a look around the league.
What the hell have you done for me lately?
Exactly. You have to realize that certain teams are not going to be on that level, and certain players are not on that level. I'm sorry. There's only few quarterbacks that are currently on that level with Patrick Mahomes. You want to say Lamar Jackson from Baltimore?
Yeah, he's up there.
You can definitely put him up there.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, yeah.
You have to put up there. Drew Brees is declining. Let's face it. Father Time is catching up with him.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Brady, we don't know what we're going to get out of him in Tampa Bay. I don't want to bring up a sore subject.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But certain quarterbacks are going to be in that discussion. Is Deshaun Watson in that discussion? To be determined.
Right. I mean, that's going to be the interesting thing with Houston. As, again, I look at Spotrac.com and their team's salary cap tracker. They've got the teams listed from most cap space to least amount of cap space of the teams we mentioned, Houston Texans. They are currently about middle of the pack. They're 14th with about $19.2 million in cap space. And then you look at the Dallas Cowboys, who are, of course, got that ongoing issue with Dak Prescott. They're currently 24th in terms of cap space with $10.5 million in cap space.
Yeah, it's the argument you have to have with this. You can't give everybody that kind of contract.
No.
For Dak Prescott, let's face it, if you threw any other quarterback behind that Dallas offensive line, would they be putting up similar numbers?
Pretty damn close.
Yeah. And Dak has done very well with that offense. You have to give him credit.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people don't like to do.
Yeah, no, yeah. He's a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
Good quarterback, don't get me wrong. He's had a pretty decent receiving core around him. He's had Ezekiel Elliott behind him, who's a very good running back. But most of the success of that offense it has to be put on the offensive line.
Yeah. And you have to remember that when you're signing players in the offseason, you have to make sure that line is intact.
Because let's be honest, Jerry Jones is probably trying to recreate the teams from the 90s.
Oh, absolutely. Well, a lot of pressure is going to be on him. But for Dak, let's face it, when was the last time Dallas was in the NFC Championship game? I'm not going to say playoffs. Championship game.
Probably not since the 90s.
I mean, it's not in any recent memory.
No, because the last playoff trip I remember for them, and I'm sure there probably have been more, was the Tony Romo botched field goal.
Yeah.
But that wasn't even the championship game. That was like either the divisional round or wild card.
All right.
So like I can look it up, but it's probably not been since the 90s.
All right, so let me flip it too. Deshaun Watson. When was the last time he was in the AFC Championship game?
I don't think he has been.
Exactly. So if you're going to start comparing yourself to a player that's gotten to the Super Bowl, let alone the AFC Championship game, I'm just using that as a benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have an argument. I mean, I'm sure they're going to get paid very well. I'm not questioning that. But if you think you're going to get a $500 million contract or more,
right?
I'm sorry, you're not going to. And I think that you have to get to a Super Bowl to have that discussion. Neither of those players have. As great as Lamar Jackson is, he hasn't gotten there yet. I'm not saying he's not going to get there, but as of right now, when it comes time to rework his deal,
right?
I mean, he's definitely going to be compensated very well.
All right, dug it up. Just to interject quickly, the Dallas Cowboys have not been in the NFC Championship game since they beat the Packers in 1995 to go on to win the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 30, which was 1995.
Exactly. So there's no way you can give him that kind of money. You just can't. I mean, any quarterback that is not going to the Super Bowl year in and year out or leading your team to a deep run.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, I'm using the AFC or NFC Championship game as my benchmark for this argument.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're doing that consistently year in and year out, you're not talking that kind of money for a contract. I'm sorry.
Right. And I mean, let's just look at since Dak's been in the league. Drafted in 2016, so 2016 lost in the divisional round to the Packers. 2017 didn't even make the playoffs. And then in 2018 won the wild card game against the Seattle Seahawks, but then lost in the divisional round to the Rams. And then in 2019 didn't even make the playoffs. So Dak hasn't even made it past the divisional round.
Right. Like I say, it all falls back on what have you done. And if you haven't gotten your team to the championship game, not even saying the Super Bowl, I want to really stress that point. If you haven't even made that deep of a run in the playoffs, you can't ask for that kind of money. Because what this is telling me is, harping back to a point I was saying earlier, defensive coordinators and head coaches apparently have figured out enough to shut you down when it counts most. And great players step up and to do it consistently and improve where they fell off. This is where these quarterbacks are leading their teams to the Super Bowl and the AFC NFC Championship game. If we haven't seen consistent growth, and you could say about, difference in teams, you can argue about personnel issues.
Sure.
But if you're the face of the franchise and you're the one leading your offense and defenses are figuring you out and you're not being consistent in your play, you're not going to warrant that kind of deal. Mahomes has gotten better each year he's been in there. I mean, let's face fact, too. He played on short notice with a very scary knee injury that he probably should have sat out longer with.
Right.
Let's not forget about that.
Yeah.
He took a very big gamble, and it paid off for him. And teams have not figured out how to slow him down to the point where Kansas City is going to be an afterthought.
No.
Is it eventually going to happen? It happens.
Probably.
It happens with everybody.
Yeah.
But for right now, Kansas City's in a great position with it.
Oh, yeah. No, Kansas City's in. Let's not get it twisted. It's a bonkers amount of money. Like, the amount of stuff you could buy with that amount of money they're giving Mahomes is long and ridiculous. But, it's understandable given this, he's 24 years old, given the successes he's had. He's going to make it back to the Super Bowl. Might not be this year. Who knows?
We don't know.
We don't know. He's going to make it back to the Super Bowl. That's not a question. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
They've got multiple championships in their future. So that's not a question. It's just the interesting thing is going to be, what can they do with that team given the amount of money you're paying to this guy? Because I know at one point it was rumored that his contract was going to be a percentage of the salary cap, and that as the salary cap went up, so would his dollar amount. And that ended up not being true. But it's still a bonkers amount of money.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of money that has ultimately two ways about going. It can either cripple your franchise, or it can be working in its favor and take advantage of the time you're in now, which I think this contract is. Like I say, the length of it and where it's structured is going to be very back-end heavy. That's the only thing you have to really worry about with your team. But if you're in a position to win now, and they are, let's face it, you're coming off the Super Bowl. You're only getting better with the players you've added in the NFL draft, too.
I'll say, and no additions in the other teams in their division are exactly telling me, they're not going to repeat as division champs.
Yeah, the Chargers, they don't scare me.
No.
The Broncos, who
knows?
We don't know. I think, their quarterback, I'm escaping Drew Luck, I think.
Drew Lock,
thank you. We don't know what's going to happen with him. We don't know. And the Raiders,
who knows?
We still got to wait to see. They've been doing so much different moves there. We don't know what team we're going to see in Vegas when they start playing.
Yeah.
But for the Chiefs, though, they're built to win now. And this contract is very friendly to them, and I think other teams should be looking at how they're structuring it.
Yeah,
and maybe this is something they should copy because, like we said, we brought up Seattle. They're very crippled by Russell Wilson's contract.
Oh yeah,
there's no way to say it otherwise.
Yeah,
but if teams can work it and you get an MVP caliber type quarterback to be locked and loaded for a long-term deal, and it's very friendly for the immediate future, which is what they need to be because, like I say, once Mahomes starts getting figured out, and it's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Is he still going to be the same consistent player? Debatable.
Yeah, no, maybe. And I would say the other thing that might work in their favor is if they're able to build a winning culture a la New England and have, maybe the same amount of success, they might get lucky in the same way New England did for a lot of years where you got guys who took a pay cut, took a cut because, hey, it's not the amount of money I might be worth or I want to get paid, but I'm going to a team that's virtually guaranteed to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's going to be something they're building right now in Kansas City. And with this contract, that's what type of players you're going to need. New England has always set the blueprint for how to do an organization. I hate saying this, too. Much this pains me.
Oh, I know.
But it's true, though. The Patriots have established a culture of winning. Whatever is going to happen this year, especially with Cam Newton at the helm, they might not fall off as much as it pains me to say. We're going to talk about that when we get to the football season.
Right.
But Kansas City is starting to build that culture there, and they have the prime piece to build around. Because with Mahomes, players are going to come to play with him. And he's going to give them the ball. And what they have set up down there is a blueprint to win. This contract is just another piece of that puzzle. They're going to be very scary for years to come, but it's also scary to see this is the direction of contracts, too. We knew Patrick Mahomes was going to get paid. Obviously, third year in the league and you're already winning the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
What's the
MVP, Super Bowl MVP, won a Super Bowl, 24 years old.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely wild to think about this, that he's got to stay motivated for that entire contract.
Yeah.
I think he will.
I think he will, yeah.
I think he's that type of player. But you have to remember, winning can also throw caution to your drive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be up to him to keep his teammates motivated. Because if they start, let's say they win the next couple Super Bowls. Just throw this out there.
Sure.
What's the motivation to keep going in year 4 of this deal?
Yeah.
What's the motivation to go in year 5? Winning does that. Because, like I say, if you think you can just turn it on with a light switch, you don't. And teams pick up on this. This is where he's getting, arguably, between him and Lamar Jackson, I think defensive coordinators have been scouting.
Oh, yeah, no.
This entire offseason, those two.
Without a doubt.
So, however they come out the gate this season, if we have a season, is going to be very telling. And especially with his contract, a lot more eyes are going to be on him, which is weird to say.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got to be as consistent as he was last year. Because if he, hypothetically, doesn't produce enough stats.
Sure.
I'm going to throw this argument out the window if it's a shortened season due to COVID. So let's just
I wanna
make that statement now. But let's say they play the same amount of games. He doesn't do as many touchdowns.
Sure.
Does a couple more interceptions.
Sure.
Yards are slightly down. Is it a failure?
I wouldn't say so. I would say if it goes in the way of when Chris Davis signed that mega deal with the Baltimore Orioles, he had the one good season, and then they gave him the monster contract and he sucked ever since.
Yeah.
I would say if they don't ever make it to, the championship game or let alone the Super Bowl again, then, if the stats dip off a little bit, okay, whatever. Defenses have figured them out. But I would say if they don't make it to the Super Bowl or even the championship game ever again, then to me it's a failure. Because every quarterback, has ups and downs in their stats. I mean, as prolific as Drew Brees is, he's had his down years.
Yeah.
Same for Brady, same for Brett Favre, same for Johnny Unitas. Insert your favorite quarterback, Joe Montana, Steve Young. They've all had dips in their statistical years. It happens
to everybody.
It happens to everybody. But for me, a failure in the deal would be if they don't win another Super Bowl or even get back to the Super Bowl again. And the interesting thing I want to say with Mahomes is what interests me, not how he's going to handle the spotlight with this contract, because that's going to be blatantly obvious. He's had a lot of success early on in his career, and deservedly so. It's been a lot of up for him and not a whole lot of downs. I would say only down for him was he had that knee injury that plagued him for a couple of weeks, and then he was good. I want to see how he handles the adversity of you sucked for a couple of weeks. You're not winning like you're used to. You're just having a crap year, and how you handle the media and everything else around you questioning you and bearing down on you because you're not having a good year.
Well, that's what we're going to see.
That to me is the true test of, can a quarterback handle it?
Well, I think he will, but I think you're going to hear a lot of people say is if his stats are down, people are going to be saying, oh, well, he doesn't care as much. He's not going to be as focused. Yeah. For me, I'm looking at what he does in the playoffs. I don't really if he has a slight fall off for stats, I don't think that matters as much. I know people are going to run with it because of the contract.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But, let's say that they get to the AFC Championship game and lose.
Sure.
It's still not a failure.
No.
They got back. Because I think now that's going to be the real question. You got paid. Can you lead your team back?
I'll say what team hasn't repeated in the Super Bowl since, Patriots in early 2000s? Something like that?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't happen often. It's the beauty of the NFL that every team does have a shot. And you see teams come out of nowhere and get hot and make runs. Kansas City was this team a couple years ago. Everybody's like, wait, what's going on here? Last season, was a phenomenal run. It was, can they pull this magic out again? You have to think yes.
Oh, yeah, you would think.
But when is another question. Yeah. But with Mahomes at the helm of the ship, you definitely have to say the chances are greater than not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the deal was crazy. But I would say probably the craziest thing to come out of this whole deal was, of course, Adam Schefter was the one who came out with the news. At least we thought so.
Yeah, we did. Break this down. This is wild. The closest on it.
So this story came out today as we record, and of course, as most of us know, Adam Schefter was the one who, middle of the afternoon yesterday as we record, came out with the news. Schefter got scooped. He got beat. A woman by the name of Katie Camlin, who is a employee of Plaza Liquor in Kansas City, tweeted out at 12:21 p.m. And she even location tagged her tweet from Kansas City, Missouri. Said, "Quote: A front office employee for the Chiefs came in and bought 6 bottles of Dom Perignon. Said there's a big signing today, and then she's got 4 wide eye emojis. He said it's not Chris Jones, so my guess is a Mahomes deal." Close quote. So this one went under the radar. Nobody saw it. Nobody heard anything about it. And then Schefter comes out and said, of course, this was time-stamped at 12:21. Schefter came out at 2:54 p.m. and announced the deal, to which Katie Camlin said, quote, "Holy shit, I beat Schefter, ha ha ha." And so eventually Schefter found out about it and was nice enough to send her a message on Twitter and said, quote, "Well done. Keep me posted the next time some Chiefs employee buys 6 bottles of bubbly. Be well and stay healthy."
Very classy.
Yeah.
Like that a lot.
Uh-huh.
Kansas City has to be loving they have their quarterback. And the city has so embraced him, too. I remember the story about when he was eating at a pizzeria down there, and the everybody in there just left him alone to eat.
Yeah.
And he got up and he said, "Thank you so much for letting me have my time." And he actually bought everybody dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have that kind of connection with the city, you're going to go places. And like I say, for Kansas City fans, you have to love this. If you're in the rest of the league, you might not love it as much.
I'll say if you're in the division, you got to be like pulling your hair out.
Well, right now, he's going to be a problem the next 10 plus. Mm-hmm. Just depends on how you can shut him down and where you go from there.
Oh, yeah.
But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. Patrick Mahomes signs for $500 million Rewind that and say that again. $500 million. What's your thoughts on that? We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hello, I am Christy.
And I'm Leighton.
And together we are a new podcast on whiskey tasting called
Married Mash, where we discuss life, family, and pretty much anything.
Yep, and Leighton brings a new whiskey for me to try. Will we clink it?
Or will we sink it?
Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And remember,
Always drink responsibly.
indeed.
This is Rich, the host of the Three Fat Nerds podcast and co-host of the Horror Zone 607 podcast, and you are listening to our hashtag 607 podcast brothers, the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. Now kick it back over to Ken Moneybags and the crew.
Coming back for segment number 2 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and it is time to talk some baseball.
Yeah, it is.
Pat is super fired up, so
I am.
I'm just going to hand him the mic and let him go.
Yep. So as we all know, summer camp, as it's been coined, and I got to say I love that term, is officially kicked off for the Major League Baseball, where all of the teams are at their respective stadiums doing a modified spring training, doing social distancing and practicing, getting ready. I know at one point, Aaron Boone, manager of the Yankees, said that they might even be using, if you've ever been to Yankee Stadium, the Great Hall, which is that big open area as you walk right into the stadium. Guys might be practicing there. But I know I was super excited because last night, as we record, the Yes Network, which is the television station that carries Yankees games all year when they're not on nationally, was showing a inter-squad matchup between teammates. Very modified game. There was no left field. There was no center fielder. They were batting, but they weren't fielding. At one point, somebody walked, but didn't go to first base. And then at certain points, they took 4 outs to get out of an inning just so the pitcher could get to their pitch count. It was wild, but if it wasn't old baseball, it was something live and new. So Christ, if I still watched it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we are approaching on the start of the modified shortened 60-game season, which is starting July 23rd for a 2 games, and then the season really kicks off July 24th. But before we get into some of those matchups, there are some differences for this year.
Okay.
Here's how it's going to work. So 60 games, like we mentioned, they will play 10 games against each of the other teams in its division for a total of 40 games. So I'll just use the AL East as an example. The Yankees will play the Red Sox, Tampa Bay Rays, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Baltimore Orioles 10 times. I know Gary Thorne has got to be real excited for that, seeing Gleyber Torres 10 times. And then they will play 20 interleague games against the teams in its corresponding geographic division. So American League East will play the National League East, American League Central will play the National League Central, American League West and the National League West will play each other. 6 of those 20 games will be against the team's natural interleague rival. So Yankees will play the Mets, White Sox will play the Cubs, et cetera, et cetera. And also they're doing that just to cut down on some long distance travel and help prevent this further spread of COVID. Like we mentioned, opening day will be July 23rd. 2 games will be played, and then the rest of the team will be playing their first game on July 24th. And the regular season is scheduled to end September 27th. So before we get into a little bit more, are you excited?
You know what? I'm excited to see sports back.
Mm-hmm.
I know early on, just the whole drama of what baseball was arguing about money during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It still lingers on me. I'm not gonna. I don't want to lie about it, and I don't want to backtrack. But once we get to the games, I'm warming up to it.
Sure.
I'm not gonna lie about it. Like for me, I struggle with it a little bit because of what was going on, and for me, it's like it's gonna be like the same thing when they came back from the strike way back when.
Oh yeah.
Once you start seeing games again, and let's face it, with everything going on right now with COVID, I don't want to say it's a return to normal, but it's baseball. It's summertime.
It's something to watch.
It's something to watch, and it's something to, something expected every year. Yeah. So that being said, I'm warming up to it a little more. Like I'm not fully like,
sure.
But because like I said, it just, for me, there's just so much of like a shadow looming over it that we had to sit here and drag our heels because we're arguing about money instead of health and safety.
Sure.
So I want to be 100% honest about it. But once we start watching the games, I know like you're gonna be hyping the group chat we have between you, me, and Coach.
Oh yeah.
So I think I'm gonna get swayed into it a
Probably.
little bit.
I mean, I'm like I said, I'm amped up for the playoffs. I'm a little bummed because let's face it, the 2020 Astros asterisks shame tour is going to get a little modified because I was really amped up to see highlights every night of them walking into visiting cities and just getting booed relentlessly. I'm talking like A-Rod and Fenway Park levels of booed, and they're not going to get it. But I know folks have a long memory, and when fans are able to return to baseball stadiums, because it won't be this year, teams will be playing in empty stadiums this year. The fans will still boo them, and I cannot wait for that.
Yeah, they're gonna get their due. It's you're only delaying the inevitable there. Like we have to remind people about.
Oh
that.
yeah, and let's not forget the American League West, which is the division. The Astros are playing the Dodgers at some point this year.
Yeah, the NLAL, which I'm actually
they're going to play each other and in Dodger Stadium.
Which I have to say this, I'm not the biggest fan of interleague because just growing up watching baseball, like I think it's cool if you do like New York versus New York or Chicago versus Chicago.
Oh yeah.
I think to do the whole like divisions,
sure,
I think is a little much, but I do like it this year that
sure.
Okay, it makes sense, especially on a short season.
Sure,
less travel, more safety.
I mean, I like the traditional matchups, like you said, New York, Chicago. I like it some years better than others, especially because baseball, much in the way the NFL does it, they rotate which other league divisions they play. So there's like the Yankees were supposed to be a couple of weeks ago, where if the season would have started, would have been playing in Wrigley, which doesn't happen every year. And so I love it in certain years because they get to go place teams in stadiums that they don't get to play them every year. Like a couple years ago, when Torrey was still managing the Dodgers, the Yankees went into to Dodger Stadium and played the Dodgers, which was just awesome to watch.
Yeah.
But getting back to it, some more information. Postseason will follow the usual format with the 2 wildcard teams in each league meeting in a 1-game playoff and the winners advancing to play the division winners. Some other rule changes for 2020. There is a universal DH, so no more pitchers batting in the National League.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know Yankees fans remember a couple injuries. I'm sure there are injuries from other teams that could have been avoided if the pitchers didn't have to freaking hit.
Well, that's the whole thing about it. Like, at this day and age, I'm sorry, you need a universal DH because you'll see in games. I mean, even pre-COVID, this was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Pitchers would get up there and they'd be
swing,
laughing.
Swing.
Yeah, they just want to get in and out just to do it.
Some pitchers, especially in the American League, they get asked, "Oh, are you excited to possibly bat tonight?" And they'll be like, "Listen, I'll be honest, I haven't swung a bat since high school."
They're not doing that. So for that, I applaud that. I think that's a smart move.
Yep. There is a 3-batter minimum for pitchers. So gone are the days of the utility out guy bringing in a lefty to face a lefty or something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you bring in a pitcher, he's got to face a minimum of 3 batters. If he gets if he still gets shelled and has faced 3 batters, you can still pull the guy. But you can't bring a guy in, face one guy, and pull him out. And then extra innings will start with a runner on second base. As odd as that sounds, I guess that's done in a way to cut down on the amount of they were talking about it even before COVID, but with COVID going on and all of that stuff, they want to cut down on the amount of time those guys are on the field, limiting the amount of exposure they have to each other. Because let's face it, these guys spend a lot of time on the field, especially standing next to each other if you're a base runner. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Is that done like the same way of college football? Like
maybe,
like, because I would say that whoever is the visiting team obviously gets first at bats, so they automatically have a runner on second to start the inning.
Maybe,
and then does the home team? Because like I think that's an interesting concept. I'm going to say that.
Yeah,
if they did that.
As I say, as exciting as it is to watch 15, 16, 17, 18 inning games, I at points I'm like, oh my God, just get it over with.
Yeah, no, I can't. I remember way back when Jeter did the infamous run into the crowd against Boston. I mean, how long was that game?
17 innings.
And I remember that being during a heat wave like we're in now.
Early July.
3rd floor apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, trust me, there's years off my life because of that game for multiple reasons.
Yeah, and an interesting thing with the runner on second base, I know they brought up in the broadcast of the Yankees inter-squad game last night, David Cohn brought it up. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Will you get to pick who is that runner on second base? Do you put a speedy guy on there? Do you put a guy who's average on there? And then what do you do? Do you automatically bunt to start off? Or if you have a power hitter, do you not bunt? Well, it'll be real interesting to see some of the thought process has gone into that.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, there's so much strategy that managers do during games. I think it's a forgotten art.
Yeah.
That this year with everything going on and with rule changes, it's going to be very, very intriguing to see how they adapt.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we've seen this kind of mental chess in baseball in a long time. I think we're going to see a lot more different matchups.
Yeah, and especially with expanded rosters, and I know when they're traveling on the road, they can carry up to 3 extra players, and one of them's got to be a catcher. So it'll be real interesting to see who they bring and who they have with them. It'll be something that you haven't seen for baseball in a long time.
No, you definitely haven't. So, I mean, it'll be something added, because especially with this season, too. And I know one criticism I've heard, and actually I want to bring up to you.
Sure.
It's a 60-game season.
Uh-huh.
Do you think it takes anything away from a champion winning the season, or no?
No. I mean, for a couple of years, people will think, oh, well, that was a shortened season, yada, yada, yada. And when if the season gets brought up in like some sort of list on, with recent champions or whatever, it might go, highlight shortened season. But I think once you get past a certain point in time, nobody's going to care. I don't think it diminishes at all.
I don't think so either. I know I've had some online chat about that.
Sure.
So
I know whoever loses the World Series is going to gripe until the end of time. Well, but that's true for regular amount of season.
Yeah, you can't gripe about it during with everything going on.
No.
I just find it very interesting that people are already diminishing it. Mm-hmm. Like I say, I don't hold it against it for 60 games.
Right.
Like I say, the only thing I've held, and we've already talked about that, is because of the delay, because of money talks. But overall, though, I mean, baseball is back.
Yeah, I mean, getting into some of the interesting matchups we got for opening day. Starting off real strong. July 23rd at 7:08 Eastern, and I'm not going to read all the times. This is just read the times for the first 2 games. 7:08 Eastern, you have the defending champs and the Washington Nationals taking on the New York Yankees. So buckle up, boys and girls. Garrett Cole, Max Scherzer to start the season. Good Lord.
That's primetime baseball right there.
Uh-huh. After that, at 10:08 Eastern, you've got the San Francisco Giants taking on the LA Dodgers.
And Clayton Kershaw, I believe, is starting
for his 9th consecutive opening day start. Good Lord. Some other games you got going on. The day after, you've got the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Mets. Detroit Tigers taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. The Florida Marlins taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. Brewers taking on the Cubs. Royals taking on the Cleveland Indians. Baltimore Orioles taking on the Red Sox. Colorado Rockies taking on the Texas Rangers in their new can opener ballpark. Sorry, Texas fans. It looks like a can.
Yeah, it doesn't look all that good. It's a weird shape.
Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Twins taking on the Chicago White Sox. Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. The Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the San Diego Padres. Seattle Mariners taking on the Houston Asterisks. And then you've got all the San Francisco Dodgers taking on the San Francisco Dodgers.
Wow,
San Francisco Giants taking on the LA Dodgers again. And then the Anaheim Angels taking on the Oakland Athletics. And then some other games you just want to keep your eye on to check out. Like we mentioned, circle the dates, July 28th, July 29th, LA Dodgers, Houston Astros. Need I say more?
Yeah, that one could be very, very interesting for a lot of different reasons.
If the Astros don't get plunked by that point, and I will be astounded if they don't, they're absolutely going to get plunked in that game.
Yeah. I'm not wishing this. I don't want this very stressed. We might see a bench-clearing brawl during that game.
Oh, I guarantee it.
I will say that.
That might be one that I would not be surprised if something comes out the day of, because this has been known to happen in situations where Major League Baseball and the umpires know something's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's happened in Red Sox and Yankees games a number of times, where the powers that be know something's going to happen, and the teams get warned before the game even starts.
Yeah, and it's not going to matter.
No.
Obviously, with everything Houston's done over their track record, and yeah, it's going to happen. Like, I'm trying to think of a nice way to say, but no, that is inevitable. And how they react to it, I'm just hoping they don't try to return fire.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. Some other games to check out. August 7th through the 9th, you've got the Oakland Athletics taking on the Houston Astros. Why is that interesting, you say? That is when Oakland starter Mike Fiers, name might sound familiar, the man who exposed the Houston Astros for all of their cheating scandals, faces his former teammate in Houston. So that'll be real interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't expect a warm welcome there.
No. And then August 21st through the 23rd, you've got the Battle of Chicago between the White Sox and the Cubs. That one's always a good one. A couple brawls over the years, so we'll see how that one goes. And then at the end of August, you've got the Twins taking on the Indians. Another divisional matchup where real close last year, might be real close this year. And that's kind of all. The interleague matchups should be interesting. I know the Yankees today announced some exhibition games, and I know the Philadelphia Phillies, the last of the three, the Philadelphia Phillies are playing in New York against the Yankees. So you will have Joe Girardi's return to Yankee Stadium.
You know what? I think if fans were allowed in, because I mean, still we're not going to have fans in the stadium.
Nope.
I think he would get a warm reception.
I think it'd be mixed.
Well, I think it would be mixed, but I think
mostly warm.
I think it would be mostly warm. I mean, it would just. I mean, that's the one thing about baseball without crowds is a lot of the extra storylines you're not going to know until obviously next season, or whatever's, or whenever fans are going to be allowed back.
Right.
We don't even know.
Right,
that.
and we don't really know. The only situation I know with what's going to be happening at the stadium is Oakland, where the Oakland Athletics, and I forget the dollar amount, but they're offering for a dollar amount to the team. They will put a cardboard cutout of yourself in the stadium, and then for a little bit more, they'll put it in foul territory. And if the ball hits your cardboard cutout, you give them your address. They will mail the ball to you. So, which is a cool idea. I don't know what other teams are going to be doing. I haven't even heard anything of if they're going to do like I know some of the soccer teams across the seas have done, where they pump in some sound from the video game. Maybe baseball will do something similar just to kind of keep an atmosphere. Because it's like they said in the Yankees broadcast last night. There's going to be no crowds. They're going to be able to hear the broadcasters all the way down to the field. So if they say something they don't like, they're going to get some death stares.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're making the best of a bad situation.
Oh, yeah.
So you can't fault them for trying some different stuff. Because I know that's going to be something, no matter what sports organization it's going to be, there's going to be criticism.
Oh, yeah.
But let's face it, you're getting sports in a pandemic era. They're making do with what they got. So I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt and let them try some stuff to see what can be as close to, I hate saying it, but like what's close to normal as we're going to see. But with baseball coming back, this is going to be one of the challenges they have. And who knows? I mean, if they come back and they have a full season next year, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, I'm hoping.
Would they make some of these changes stick?
Maybe.
I mean, for me, I'm all for a shorter season, and not saying 60 games, mind you, but I wouldn't mind going 151 and starting the playoffs early.
Yeah.
That is one I've been really hoping they do. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, there's just so much question marks going into this, and obviously when they get started, the big thing is going to be watching is can everybody stay safe and healthy.
Right.
That's the one thing I'm hoping for all sports organizations running right now. And with everybody right now, it's just staying safe and as healthy as possible. Baseball is going to have a lot of eyes on them. And definitely opening day is going to be a fun one.
Oh, yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see who the teams bring and whatnot. I know for the Yankees, watching their game last night, they had their number 2 overall prospect, Clark Schmidt, pitch. Good Lord, that kid's good. I'll have to show you some of the highlights. He's got a nasty curveball. Definitely
want to see that. Aaron Judge says he's ready for opening day too.
I would say that's been as awful as everything has been with COVID and nasty. That's kind of one of the silver linings for the Yankees is when if the season would have started when it did, the Yankees would have been without Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Aaron Hicks. You know, they're starting outfield, but because the season got delayed and postponed, they're all going to be ready. And here's the wild one they said in the Yankees broadcast last night. Aaron Hicks is going to be the first player in Major League history to have Tommy John surgery and not miss a game.
Wow.
Because of the delay.
Wow.
Because of the delay in the season, he didn't miss any games in the regular season, so he'll have had successful Tommy John surgery, come back, and not miss a game.
That's insane. I mean, to know what that injury does, I mean, it's a full, 9 to 12 months off?
At least.
Yeah. I mean, and players have come back and prospered from it. Wow. Like, that is a crazy stat.
Oh, yeah.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, mind is blown right now. I'm really trying to focus my words on this. But, that's such a crazy stat that is going to be true. Like, I mean, just how baseball is going to be run this year, I mean, that's just another story to go along with it. And especially with a short season, too, most of the rosters are going to be healthy. I know talking with New York Mets fans, they're very excited about this.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because usually they have the bad luck with injuries.
Oh, yeah.
But it's going to be something for baseball fans and fans of sports in general to be excited about. Like I say, I'm warming to it. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm warming up to it. But just to see baseball get back on the field, it's going to be great to see sports back live.
Yeah.
And the month of July,
that's got a lot,
is going to be one of the wildest months of sports history in memory, because you're going to have the NBA, NHL, and MLB running NFL is doing business, but they're not. I mean, they're restructuring their preseason right now.
Right. They took away 2 preseason games, which makes sense given. I know some people are like, wait, why are they doing that? Teams really haven't had a chance to get together and practice yet, so they're going to need more time to get ready for the season. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and plus they're also giving an extra week to make sure players are healthy and safe going into the season. So I know when they took off weeks 1 and 4.
Right, and it does appear that the Players Association is making plans in case something happens. A thing just came across my phone that's from Bleacher Report. The NFL Players Association says the league wants to hold 35% of player salaries in escrow if revenue is impacted by COVID-19.
Well, see, everybody's got to be smart about this, too. I mean, obviously, running a business during this time period is a very difficult task.
Oh, yeah.
Baseball, now that we've gotten all the drama out of the way, hopefully we get to the games, and hopefully that's the headline finishing out 2020 with them and not talking about money owed during a pandemic. But let us know what you think. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. Baseball is back. What is your thoughts going into the season? What games are really standing out to you, and are you excited for opening day? Are you more excited than Pad?
Probably not.
Probably not, but hey, that's a great conversation to have, so hit us up. Let us know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sunny Hepburn.
And I'm Brandy Fleets.
And we're from Book of Lies, the podcast, where we discuss liars, cheats, and thieves,
scammers, and dirty, rotten scoundrels.
You can tune in for new episodes every Tuesday to hear about another lowdown, dirty liar.
And learn how to spot them.
So that's Book of Lies Podcast. You can connect with us on social media, Twitter at Book of Lies Pod, Facebook, and Instagram at Book of Lies Podcast. Bye!
Hey, this is Brian Wolf from Fair City Fire. You are listening to ODPH, the greatest podcast in Binghamton.
Woo!
Hot lips touching, cool thighs breathing, shudder running up, her spine spinning, long day to a long night, but I'm not stopping till I get it right.
Coming back for segment number 3 on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and it is time to go to Fight Island.
In air quotes.
Yes, the UFC is now at their fantasy island, shall we say.
Fantasy Beach.
Yes, over in Yas Island. We are now going to Fight Island for the next 4 cards. We're leaving the Apex in Vegas, which left some of the best fights. Like I'm at this stage, I really don't want to leave.
Yeah.
But here we are, we're going, and they're definitely starting off strong, albeit a lot of drama has happened since we last recorded.
It's amazing how much drama you can fit into a week.
Yeah, I think that they purposely waited until we got done recording.
That's usually how it goes.
Yes, because now we have to get you caught back up to speed on what is going on with the UFC. UFC 251 was originally announced that Gilbert Burns was taking on Kamaru Usman. And then, unfortunately, Burns has been diagnosed with COVID-19.
Burns and his head coach, if I believe.
Yes, so they had to pull him out of the fight.
Yep.
Lo and behold, we get Jorge Masvidal stepping in.
I mean, twist my arm about it, why don't you?
Right, but obviously Masvidal was originally scheduled to fight Usman, and it didn't happen right away. There was some talk about the contract structuring for Masvidal, and he definitely didn't want to fight under the deal he had. Made a lot of points, but it was still, he was on the sidelines. Burns stepped in to fight Usman. Obviously, things have had to change. Masvidal has now reworked his deal with the UFC. We don't know figures. But now he is taking on Kamaru Usman.
Going on a limb, less than Patrick Mahomes.
Yes, I will definitely say that. But Masvidal is definitely stepping in to save the day. That is going to be main eventing one of the biggest fight cards of the year.
We'll say not up for contention, the BMF title.
Yes, no, that title, which I have to remind people, is a made-up title. It is. There's no ranking. There is no certain.
There is a ranking. Number one contender is either of the Diaz brothers. Take your pick.
Well, I will say that, but I mean, under the ruling governing sports federations, whatever you want to define it, the BMF title is not recognized.
No,
but it could be recognized at some point. Who knows?
Maybe.
Knows?
We'll see.
But right now, we have to talk about UFC 251. There's a lot of stuff going on with it.
Yeah.
We did actually a deep dive on the wrestling show over on 3FN Rich and I were talking about the entire card, but Pad, we're just going to be focusing on the main card for this.
Yeah.
So if you want to hear about all the prelim talk, head on over to 8122 Productions, and you can definitely check it out. But let's talk the main card, UFC 251, deep dive on it. Let's go.
Yeah, so of course, as Ken mentioned, taking place this Saturday from Yas Island in the Abu Dhabi over in the United Arab Emirates. It is UFC 251. One thing we should note, because I know I myself was wondering this morning, because a lot of times when a card happens overseas, it starts at bizarre times. Of course, I remember infamously there was that one that took place in China a couple years ago that finished at like 6:30 or 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I remember watching that before I went to work.
Lord have mercy. Because this event is taking place without fans, they don't have to worry about local timing of the event. So it will start at normal times for us here in the States and wherever you watch around the world. So whatever time you're used to watching UFC events, if it is a normal pay-per-view that's taking place in, say, Vegas, New York, Ohio, wherever, it will start at your regular time. So no need to worry about or look up or Google search what time this thing's starting at. It's regular times. A couple fights we want to look at are kind of the big ones. One of which is a women's strawweight matchup on the main card between Jessica Andrade versus Thug Rose Namajunas.
Going to be a fun rematch.
Yeah,
Obviously, Andrade beat Namajunas the first time they fought.
Yep.
And that was a fight that Rose was winning.
Yeah,
Striking was on point.
Yep.
And Andrade caught her in a slam and knocked her out. And obviously, this one's got a nice story behind it. It's going to be a good rematch. So, Pat, let me ask you, who you got?
I'm going to go with Thug Rose. You know, I think she's got a chip on her shoulder. She wants to prove that loss was a fluke. She hasn't fought since she lost, as you mentioned, to Jessica Andrade back in May of 2019. And we look at Jessica Andrade. Her last fight was where she lost to Weili Zhang and lost the strawweight championship. So obviously both fighters coming in with a chip on their shoulder. I think Rose got a slightly bigger chip on her shoulder, and she's going to want to prove that, hey, I'm still the woman to beat in this division, and that was just a fluke.
Yeah, I like Rose in this one too. I think Rose is going to be smarter to keep some distance. She's going to be striking. I'm predicting a lot of leg kicks. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of something we're going to see later on in the fights, but I think that to keep Andrade on her toes and keep her at a distance, I think she's going to be working a lot of inside and outside leg kicks.
Yep.
So I do like Namajunas in this one. I'd like it by unanimous decision.
Okay.
I think as long as she avoids getting taken down in a clinch or slammed, because Andrade is definitely the stronger of the fighters.
Right.
But I think if Namajunas can stay on the outside and just work points, I think she's got a great chance to win this one.
Next fight we're going to look at is a matchup in the bantamweight division, which, if I'm not mistaken, is for the vacant UFC bantamweight championship between Peter Yan and Jose Aldo.
Okay, so this one, I have said previously, I'm okay with the fight. I don't think Aldo should be in the fight. I think it should be Aljamain Sterling.
Looking at the record, obviously, in 34 professional records, Jose Aldo, 28 wins, 6 losses. However, coming off back-to-back losses to Marlon Moraes back in December of last year by split decision, and then a unanimous decision loss to Alexander Volkanovski in May of last year.
Right, so this is where he's been teetering around bantamweight. He's left the featherweight division where he was king for many years.
Oh, yeah.
Can take nothing away what he's done.
No, go through the list of who he's beat.
Yeah, the WEC to the UFC, one of the most dominant champions you'll ever find. Stepping down in the weight class, though, I don't like him at 135. I really don't.
No.
I would much rather see him try going to 155 for a weight class.
Yeah.
Just because I think for him and his size, it's the optical test. I don't think he looks healthy at 135.
Right.
But it's not to say he can't hang at 135. Flip the coin, though, Peter Yan, one of the most underrated fighters that you probably don't know about. I know he's 14-1, and he is definitely a beast at that division.
I'll say 14-1, and I had to look it up. His last loss was not even in the UFC. It was for a Russian federation back in March 26th of 2016. So the man hasn't lost in 4 years and hasn't lost since he joined the UFC.
Yeah, no, he is an absolute beast. I like Yan big in this one. Big time. I think he finishes Aldo. I know it sounds kind of weird saying, but I think Aldo is at that stage in his career that when you drop down a weight class or you move up a weight class, it's usually because the skills are slightly diminishing. Most of the time. Sometimes you clean out a division and you have to move up because there's nobody else left to fight. In Aldo's case, him dropping down, he adds star power to that division.
Oh, yeah.
That they don't have right now. Henry Cejudo vacated.
Mm-hmm.
Is trying to get to 145.
We'll see.
That's for another podcast. I will save my opinions for that. And right now, 135 is definitely needing some star power. Cody Garbrandt had a great comeback fight knockout recently, so he's got to be in that conversation. The Sugar Show 2.0 is a rising star in that division.
Yeah.
Aljamain Sterling had one of his best performances on record, just recently.
Oh, yeah.
So they definitely need somebody to step into the spotlight.
Oh, yeah.
That division is not as forgotten as the flyweight division.
No.
But it's definitely one that flies under the radar. And
They need a little bit of a boost.
They need a boost of somebody.
Sure.
I think Yan beating Aldo will definitely draw some attention to it.
Absolutely.
And the next fight you have to make, if he wins, which I think he's going to win, I think he's going to finish Aldo, is Yan versus Sterling.
Okay.
You have to make that fight.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think Yan's going to win. I don't think he's going to, knock him out or submit him. I think it's going to be unanimous decision. But I mean, looking at Yan's record, his last couple fights, beat John Dotson in February of last year by unanimous decision, beat Jimmy Rivera by unanimous decision in June of last year, and then knocked out Uriah Faber in December of last year. So on a roll, I think he'll be able to pull it off, but I don't think it'll be like a knockout. I think it'll be decision.
See, I think he needs to have a highlight finish. Whether it's a submission or knockout.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to, if he really wants to have a star-making moment.
Sure.
Much the same as how Masvidal had that knockout of Ben Askren, which you're seeing all week on social media.
Yeah.
And even more so after that.
Much to Ben Askren's chagrin.
Yeah, him on social media right now is actually kind of funny about that. But getting back to this fight, though, I think Yan needs to have that star-making fight.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be it for him. And for whatever happens with Aldo, if Aldo wins, it's a feather in his cap.
Right.
But like I say, I just don't see him doing that at a smaller weight class at this stage in his career. I just don't. It's nothing against him personally. I just think the father time is slowly creeping on him a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And the fact that once father time catches you, everything kind of falls by the wayside. So we'll have to wait and see what happens in this one. But I like Yan a lot in this one.
After that, in the co-main event for the featherweight championship, you have champion Alexander Volkanovski defending his belt against Max Holloway.
So the first time that this fight happened, Volkanovski leg kicked Holloway to death. Mm-hmm. That was the fight in pretty much a summary.
Yeah.
That Volkanovski took out Holloway early. He had a better game plan. He looked the better fighter. I mean, Max has always fought at 145. Even when he steps up to 155, he's a small 155. Mm-hmm. You want to see prime example of that? Him versus Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
When he tried stepping up there. It's nothing against Max. Max has been a great fighter in that division. I like Max a lot. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be tough for him, I think, to figure out what Volkanovski's going to do.
Right.
Because obviously he's already fought him once, so you have an idea. Mm-hmm. But you have to figure, going into a rematch, Volkanovski is going to try doing something different.
You would think.
I mean, he could just try doing the leg kicks of doom again.
Yeah.
And they worked the first time, but you have to figure Max is ready for it this time.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I have heard some crazy reports that he hasn't done a training camp.
Good Lord.
And he hasn't really done anything to get ready for this other than just like some light sparring. I've heard rumor. I can't say that's a 100% definite. If that is the case, that's absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But
risky.
It's risky, and I know Max is that kind of fighter. He will just scrap with you.
Yeah.
So for this one, though, I do like Volkanovski. Mm-hmm. I do. I think this is going to be a decision one because I think it's going to come down to one of two things. Max has to win outright, or Volkanovski has to finish him.
Yeah.
You can't have another decision because I'm not saying you're going to see a trilogy fight.
No.
I don't, because the first one was so unanimous for Volkanovski that if this one's a split decision, I could see an argument, maybe.
Sure.
But I think for him, he definitely needs to finish Max to really solidify himself at 145.
Yeah.
He's already the champ, but still, when you win the fight once, great. When you beat somebody that was so dominant in that weight class again, that's really saying something because I think for him, looking at 145, he's going to see the winner of Brian Ortega versus the Korean Zombie whenever that fight happens.
It's a matter of whoever makes it out of there alive.
Yeah, because that one, if you have not been following the social media trash talk, it is something to read. This fight, wherever that fight happens, that's going to be one of my fights of the year.
I'd say it's on the level of trash talk between our main event that we're going to get to.
It's around there, and it's getting worse every time I'm reading it. Like, they are really...
They don't like each other.
You can sense that there is some real problems between those two.
Yeah.
And those make for great fights.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that one. And like I said, that winner is going to get the winner of this title match. I fully bank on it. So who you got in this one, Pat?
Well, a couple things of note. Max Holloway has said that he's going to auction off his UFC 251 fight kit for charity.
Very cool.
All proceeds are going to be going to the Hawaii Food Bank. So if you're a Max Holloway fan, keep an eye out for that. It's real interesting because you look at Max Holloway's record in 26 professional matches. He is 21-5. His last fight, obviously, was the unanimous decision loss to Alexander Volkanovski back in December of last year. Prior to that, he defeated Frankie Edgar by unanimous decision in July of last year, lost to Dustin Poirier by unanimous decision in April of last year, and then was on a wicked win streak to where his last loss prior to that was August of 2013. Long win streak. On the flip side, you look at Alexander Volkanovski, 22 professional matches, 21 wins, 1 loss. That lone loss coming in the Australian Fighting Championship back in May of 2013. The man has not lost in 7 years. It's going to be really interesting just because, like you said, if it's true that Holloway hasn't done a fight camp and has only done light sparring. I also know I saw a clip from Ariel Helwani when he was talking to Daniel Cormier. He's been trash talking Daniel Cormier, saying that, when he wins this fight Saturday and gets that belt, he's going to come for, quote, your old ass and beat it so I can take that championship. So he's trash talking DC and saying he's going to whip DC's.
I love Max.
DC's old ass.
Max is crazy.
But I don't know. I'm going to have to go with Holloway on this one. I think he's going to pull it out.
Wow.
I think he might submit him or even knock him out.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but if he does this and it's revealed he did no camp for it, that is going to be one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Like, that entire rumor that's going around about that is just head exploding right now. And it's funny because if you talk to Volkanovski, he said this should have been the main event all the time.
Right.
It's not because, let's face it, the actual main event.
They want to kill each other.
Now that we've gotten to here, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal.
They want to kill each other.
Yeah, this is a legit fight.
They almost got into it at UFC, or not UFC, Super Bowl Media
Weekend,
Day. Super Bowl Media Day or whatever it was. They got into it.
Yeah, then this is not like anything to hype up a fight. They have general dislike for each other.
Yeah.
To put it mildly.
Also, this ain't going to be like, wrestling Triple H feuding against Shawn Michaels when they're actually friends. No,
yeah.
They hate each other.
There is definitely a lot of bad blood between them. Masvidal has definitely been saying that he wants to finish this one. He wants to break his jaw. Usman has been training with Justin Gaethje out in Denver. So he's been working on his striking. This is the fight we've been long waiting for.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously, with Burns pulling out, and we're hoping he has a speedy recovery and he can come right back into it, this is the fight we've always wanted. This is one we've been waiting on for a long time. Because Masvidal, ever since he won the BMF title, it's been who's next.
Right.
Should have been a rematch against Nate Diaz. I think it should have been.
Yeah.
But obviously, he had his chance to get his title shot. This is going to be the first time, I believe, in 17 years of fighting he is going to get a first title shot, which is the story behind this is just crazy.
Yeah, it's his first UFC championship for Masvidal. Masvidal did have a contend for the Strikeforce lightweight championship back in December of 2011.
Oh, that's right, against Gilbert Melendez, right?
Yep, he lost that one, but I mean, he's had some. That title shot, but in terms of UFC, he has not had a UFC title matchup in his entire run.
That's crazy. So now we finally get to Fight Island. We know that Usman has been a dominant champion.
Not even just since he got to the UFC, his professional record, period. 17 professional matches, 16 wins, 1 loss. That lone loss in his second ever professional fight back in May of 2013.
Yeah, I mean the performances he's done to get the belt and maintain it. I mean Colby Covington, he ran through.
Yeah, knocked him out in the 5th round. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was just a one-sided affair, and
We'll say, wasn't Colby super bloodied up after that?
Oh yeah,
too?
he was a mess.
Yeah, I remember that.
I know there's some talk that Colby wanted a rematch. I fully don't believe it. I'm in the
Colby don't want that.
I'm in the Ben Askren camp about this one. That he even said, he goes, Colby doesn't want it, Jorge does. Fully believe that.
Oh yeah.
So now, Pad.
Yeah.
It's time, if I may quote Bruce Buffer. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Usman. I think the track record is there. You look at the lineup of folks he's beaten: Colby Covington, Tyron Woodley, Dos Anjos, Damian Maia, Sergio Moraes, Shane Strickland, Leon Edwards, just the names he's run through, and it's either knockout or decision. There's no two ways about it. Flip side, Masvidal, nothing to take away from him. He's a bad dude, and I don't say that just because he has that belt. He's a bad dude that, honestly, I wouldn't want to get in a fight with him if I met him on the street. But Usman's just on another level that I don't know if Masvidal can get to.
I thought about this because I know when I originally recorded with Rich from 3FN, I took Usman.
Okay.
And then I had a talk with one of our friends of the show, Common Man Vince Ciotoli from Crow's Nest MMA.
Okay.
And he brought up something that it made me think a little bit. And what he said is, you notice that Usman was really striking with Colby, and that's how he won that fight. And now he's been training with Justin Gaethje.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think that entails? That he has hands, that he can be a dominant striker instead of uses wrestling. Do you think that he's going to try standing with Masvidal?
Probably not.
If he wants to win this fight, he should not. But I am going to say this, and I'm going to flip my original pick.
Okay.
I am taking Masvidal.
Okay.
Because I think when Vince brought that up to me, the more I'm thinking about it, it's to a lesser degree of when Frank Mir was knocking people out. Like you got a couple knockouts all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then he stopped trying to go for submissions. There's like a little stretch of his career that he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm now seeing Usman might do that. Like, I think it's a horrible idea.
Right.
Like, because honestly, this fight's going to go one of two ways. Either Usman's going to use his wrestling and take him down.
Right.
And I want to say fight a GSP style fight.
Sure.
And just keep Masvidal on his back.
Sure.
Or he's going to try standing with Masvidal and he's going to lose.
Right.
He's going to lose badly. So, that being said, I fully agree with Common Man. I'm now sold on that idea that Usman's going to try throwing hands with him. And I think that's going to be such a mistake that now this is going to be Masvidal's chance to shine. And if he can pull this off, this is going to be one of the greatest comebacks or greatest stories in MMA history. I don't want to say a comeback, but for a guy that has been fighting for as long as he has, and I mean, you can go through the history of Jorge Masvidal.
Right.
He has definitely been a guy that, I mean, started out fighting in backyards in Miami. Like,
right.
The story is very similar almost to Kimbo Slice.
Right.
The late Kimbo Slice. And just how he rose through the ranks, and he's just gone through organizations, and he finally got real recognition with that devastating knockout of Ben Askren. If you've been a fight fan and you've been watching him for years, you know who he is.
Right.
I mean, from when we went through Donald Cerrone, he's been putting fights together too. I mean, you can just look at his track record throughout. This is the time now, though, if Usman decides to stand with him. And trust me, he's been throwing hands. So it's not out of the realm of thought to think he's going to try standing with him. But if he makes that mistake for 1 minute too long, Masvidal's going to take him out. I know that his coach, Mike Brown, did not make the trip over because I believe he's now tested positive for COVID as well.
Right.
I think Masvidal is going to come in there so focused that even though he got his deal, this is like a legacy moment too. And especially he doesn't like Usman. He's been training for Usman too.
Yeah.
I know he's been working with different wrestlers to work on his grappling. So that's something in his repertoire here now. Not saying he's going to be a takedown artist, but he's been training for Usman this entire time. It's not like he's going in cold, even though he's taking a fight on 7 days' notice.
Right.
This is where I think he's really going to step his game up, and I think he's going to pull off the upset because I think Usman's actually going to try standing with him, and I think that's such a bad idea. And if Usman proves me wrong, he's going to take him down, and he's going to be laying some shots from the ground too, which, like I say, who wins? The fans do.
Absolutely.
We are going to win this one.
Yeah, we are.
But I'm taking Masvidal. I'm going to flip my pick.
Okay.
I'm going to take Masvidal. We'll have to see what happens Saturday night at Fight Island.
Yeah.
We are going to be live streaming this, not the actual fight. You're not going to see the fight itself, but you're going to see us live streaming the reactions. You're going to get our play-by-play during the fight. You never know who's going to stop by the stream. So definitely check out twitch.tv/607podcast Saturday night. I know we're going to be doing the prelims, going right into the main card. It's going to be a fun time, so definitely check it out on Twitch. But definitely let us know what you think. UFC 251 is going down this weekend. Who you got? Let us know on the social media accounts. You can find them on OchoDuroParlayHour.com. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Seattle, a local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right where we'd be.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, Local Minute. Just support local wherever you're at. So let's round those bases and take the show home. Pad, lead us off.
We have a bit of an anniversary to celebrate, or not celebrate, depending on how you look at it. Ken, do you remember where you were 10 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you might remember, some might not. 10 years ago, if you don't remember where you were, this might jog your memory. 10 years ago was The Decision.
Yeah.
The highly anticipated hour-long television extravaganza, although I think someone failed to call it that, where LeBron James, in his first year of free agency, would anticipate where he would be signing after being drafted for and playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a number of seasons. Was he going to stay in Cleveland? Was he going to go to New York? Was he going to go to Miami? Where was he going to go? The world was highly anticipated. I know I myself was very anticipated by this. I really wanted to know. I remember very distinctly where I was. I was out at a local establishment that night with some friends. It was like a Friday night or a Saturday night, something like that. And one of the TVs at said local establishment had it on. Could not hear a word because there was music playing in the background, but and they didn't have closed captioning on the television. Why, I don't know, but they didn't. It was myself and some friends and some other folks in the establishment that were very interested in sports and wanted to know. And we were just waiting for that graphic to come up. For the entire, we weren't even doing anything else. We were just huddled around this small television, that was in the about 5-10 feet up in the air, waiting for the graphic to come up for him announcing where he was going to go. And we all thought it'd be within the first 5 minutes, announce it and then talk about it. No, it wasn't until the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was arguably one of the worst moments and most memorable moments in
television.
I was going to say in NBA history.
NBA history, yeah, television too.
And what I say about it was one of the worst moments is, looking back on it now,
they advertised the shit out of it.
They advertised it so much that it gave a very negative effect.
Mm-hmm.
Not because LeBron didn't go to your team, but just of how it was looked at, of just being such an over-the-top production that I think for the reaction it got, it was so polarizing that people didn't know exactly how to deal with it. And it made LeBron an instant villain.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And outside of Cleveland, because he was leaving Cleveland, and obviously the fans in Cleveland were going to hate his guts, but at the country at large, because you just wasted an hour of our time for something that you said in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah. It was just something that it could have been summed up a lot quicker. It was brought up with so much hype because, you have to remember at that time, too, teams were getting rid of cap space to sign him.
Oh, yeah.
That obviously
there were meetings, and it was leading off every edition of SportsCenter.
And plus, it was also a very big free agency period, too, because Chris Bosh was going to be a free agent. Dwayne Wade was going to be a free agent.
Oh, yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And just to see when the decision was made and he finally said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach.
Yeah, I forget who the interviewer was, but he goes, all right, LeBron, now's the moment. Where are you signing?
Yeah. And for what that did for the NBA, like I say, it's looked upon as a bad moment, like I say, for that aspect just of how over the top it was just to say he was going to a team and then the backlash that got.
Because it wasn't even like he talked about I don't even think he talked about like his potential teams. It was just, hey, let's talk about you for 50 minutes, 55 minutes. And then it was pretty much, I don't even think they talked about his thought process of why he chose Miami. It was pretty much just, where are you going? I'm taking my talents to South Beach. And goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, it was just such a weird program to watch. That it could just been summed up a lot better in many different ways. And then once that got announced, it was also announced Chris Bosh was joining him in Miami.
Right.
And then Dwayne Wade was re-signing at Miami. So then you had the big three, which...
Not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7, not 8, not 9.
Yeah, the amount of hype that went into those three uniting in Miami definitely switched the focus to the Eastern Conference, which, I mean, let's face it, the West was still a very big and strong deal, too, in the NBA, like it is now. But just to see that those players were uniting and to see how their chemistry was going to work, because they'd all been all-stars in their own teams, now coming together, how is this going to work? And you have to say it worked well, and it did not work well.
Yeah.
I mean, for the amount of hype, and they had that big press conference down at the Miami Stadium there.
Yeah.
And like you touched upon, they came out from the stage, the smoke,
music,
and the music.
Lights.
And we're not going to win 3. We're not winning 4. We're winning 5. The hype was there, and it just instantly...
It put the biggest target on their back.
Yeah, it just had such an effect on fans, because if you didn't like Miami and you didn't like how they formed as a team, you were rooting against them the entire time. If you were a fan of LeBron as a player, and those players as well too, you were rooting them on to see what they could do. And obviously winning 2 out of 4 wasn't a bad deal.
No.
But to see how it all fell apart and see the legacy of it now 10 years after, you now see teams trying to do that more often. That the NBA has shifted its focus into making super teams.
Yeah.
I mean, we did have that with the big 3 in Boston, too, with Garnett, Paul Pierce. And
Ray Allen.
Thank you. That you have, we've seen that happen from time to time.
Sure.
But now that's where you had Golden State emerge, where they didn't necessarily have everybody come there to form a team.
I was going to say, they kind of did it the San Antonio Spurs way.
Yeah, they did it for the most part, but then again, when you have Kevin Durant leaving the team that just beat him to join them, I mean, that is the precedent that was set from Miami doing the big 3. Because now you see players are wanting to be with another superstar to carry them through. That it's not so much as past years of basketball where you've had dominant teams. And you could say, obviously, we just saw in The Last Dance about the run the Chicago Bulls had. You can only say that so much with Michael Jordan and just the rotating cast of characters he had.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say characters. I should say players.
Well, there was one character.
Well, there was one character. That's why I say I always think of Dennis Rodman on that team, too, and he's just an over-the-top personality. But to see the players that they had going through Chicago, but there's still more parity in the league at that time. To see then, once it went to Miami, it was all but penciled in that Miami was going to the finals every year. And they did. I mean, to say it didn't work, I mean, you can't say it didn't.
No.
But I think once they came into competition against the Western Conference, I mean, obviously they beat a young Oklahoma City team.
Very young.
To win their first title. They lost to Dallas. And then they split with San Antonio. It was very interesting to see the legacy that was, because it showed teams it could work, and then it showed to sustain that, because once you had those 3 players locked and loaded for max contracts for that time period too, it definitely tied you up for getting role players.
It made it real hard for them. I remember that.
Yeah, which it just showed that if they went cold during the series, and at times they did for a little bit. I mean, LeBron has been very consistent throughout his career, so you can't say he went cold.
No.
But when you had to rely on Ray Allen to carry you through, and they had different players come in and to carry the team where they needed. Whereas you look when Dallas beat them, they only had Dirk at that time, and then it was almost like a rotating cast of characters as well.
Yeah, pretty much.
I shouldn't say characters, but it's just one of those teams that on paper they shouldn't have matched up with Miami, but they find a way to win. And to see what happened after, I think LeBron learned of how to handle leaving a team and doing better PR, because when he announced he was going back to Cleveland,
wasn't it just like an article in Sports Illustrated?
Yeah, it was a simple article and a simple tweet, I think,
something like that.
That I'm coming home. And for how he left the first time, I think it was definitely a growing experience for him as well.
No, it absolutely was, because I forget where he said it, but I know he said it in an interview someplace, where he equated to leaving his home state of Ohio in Cleveland the greater Cleveland area and going to Miami as almost his college experience. Where for a lot of players, they go to college and they get that experience of being away from home and this and that. LeBron, as we know, didn't get that because he came straight out of high school and went into the NBA. So for him, leaving the Cavaliers and going to Miami was almost his quasi college experience of being away from home and learning a few things. And you can obviously, if you look at the body of work and the results and just everything else when he left and then after he came back, night and day difference.
Oh, it was a night and day difference. And plus, for all the Cleveland fans that were mad he left, because, I mean, let's face it, born and raised in Ohio, for him to leave, it was a very big situation.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, you can go through the history books and see about the relationships he was having with the front office at the time, too.
Right.
And how he left, it was definitely on bad terms with Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland offense. I mean, there was a very noted public statement Dan Gilbert made.
Yeah, that man will never win another championship. Won't win a championship before we will.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, and he wanted to win in 2. But he came back because he felt he owed Cleveland and the state of Ohio something. Mm-hmm. And to his credit,
he got him
the chip. All is forgiven. I mean, God bless his soul. My dad was one of the most diehard Cleveland fans of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I remember absolutely broke his heart when LeBron left. Unfortunately, he didn't live to see LeBron bring the chip home. But just to see how that city just reacted to finally being a championship city after so long of being in a drought and going through everything, all was forgiven, and it showed growth in LeBron too. Because I think he definitely learned it. I don't think he was expecting the reaction he got when he left.
No, I don't think so.
That I think that he was made into the instant villain.
Oh my God!
And he tried playing it up, but he just couldn't because I just don't think it registered of how much of a bad look that move was.
I don't think he was prepared for it because obviously when a big player leaves a team, fans are pissed. They light jerseys on fire. They throw them in the trash. So I think once he saw that wasn't any big surprise. He probably figured that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I remember that first game coming back to Cleveland because I don't usually watch NBA in the regular season. I'll watch a matchup now and then in the postseason.
Sure.
But regular season, I'm not the biggest watcher just because it is what it is. But I remember that game got flexed onto TNT broadcasting. It was supposed to be on like the local channels in their respective cities, but TNT went, "No, we're going to broadcast this one." And I remember just how angry and loud that crowd was. That it was arguably to that point the loudest I'd ever. I think it was louder than when A-Rod went into Fenway.
Might have been.
It was very loud, and I'm like, he wasn't ready for this.
No, he definitely wasn't. And like I said, that was such a turning point for the NBA because now you have players trying to get together and form super teams. Mm-hmm. And in this modern era of basketball, that was the first time we saw that. And we've seen that with Golden State. Now we've seen it with the LA Clippers, with Kawhi and Paul George reuniting out there.
Yeah.
And then you've seen James Harden and Russell Westbrook reuniting in Houston. You've seen KD and Kyrie Irving unite in Brooklyn.
We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that one goes. That's another time, another place. But you see how that decision has now had ripple effects throughout the NBA. And that's always going to be remembered at a time for basketball. Love it or hate it, the game of basketball changed for the NBA. And how business handled for the NBA. So looking back 10 years later, I mean, LeBron did make a lot of the bad sting go away that from him leaving and just how angry people were. He won a chip for Cleveland. So you have to look back to say it was a success. And it was definitely a turning point for the NBA.
Oh, yeah.
So wild to see 10 years later, though. Wild. So to close out the bases, we got to talk a little wrestling.
Yeah.
So obviously we previewed last week. WWE and AEW are having a big Wednesday night battle. They're running pay-per-view-esque cards.
Yep.
WWE had the Great American Bash. AEW had Fyter Fest.
Yep.
I would say this. I think night one definitely went to NXT.
Okay.
They had a great match with Sasha Banks and Io Shirai.
Oh, yeah, that was nuts.
Yeah, definitely had a very strong card. It was announced, though, that the main event for Fyter Fest was going to be changing. John Moxley, unfortunately, has been quarantined. His wife did come down with a positive test for COVID, so he was pulled from the card, and AEW had to kind of scramble a little bit.
Yep.
That fight has been moved to Fight for the Fallen, which is going to be in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And overall, though, I will say the card itself for Fyter Fest was a good card. I know it had a lot of varying opinions.
Sure.
Obviously, we did do a deep dive on that on 3FN this week on the wrestling show. Definitely a lot of mixed opinions of the card, too. And anytime you're opening the card with MJF and Wardlow versus Jurassic Express, not exactly the best way to start a show, in my opinion.
Not a barn burner.
Well, it's not, and I've been very vocal about how I think MJF deserves a better push on the card, up the card there.
Yeah.
And especially you had kind of a weird ending with the Cody Jake Hager match.
Yeah.
And you had the big tag team main event, which was kind of a letdown. Like it was a good match, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the great match that we were expecting between Best Friends and Kenny Omega and Adam Page, where you flipped the channel and you had a really strong card from NXT. I mean, the 4-way for the number 1 contender for the women's title with Tegan Nox coming out of nowhere to pull off the win.
Holy cow.
That was a big win. Dexter Lumis, as creepy as hell as he is.
Yeah.
And the strap match and Roderick Strong and the big win there. To, like I said, Io Shirai and Sasha Banks having a damn near perfect match.
That was nuts.
It's up there for match of the year. So now NXT definitely is going in with some strong momentum.
Yeah.
We are now at night 2, so we're going to preview what you're expecting from night 2. Give us our opinions on it, because some spoilers have been leaked out on the internet. So if you're trying to avoid getting spoiled, we will try avoiding saying them on the show. I'm going to try my best to. So we'll give you fair warning now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, just kind of proceed with caution here. But Pat, break it down.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with night 2 for NXT. Some of the matches in no particular order here. You've got the 6-man tag team matchup between Drake Maverick and Breezango, taking on, and I didn't know this faction had a name, but apparently they do, Legado del Fantasma. That is the team of Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza.
Yeah, they just formed up on last week. I think it was I was watching AEW at the time, but I remember Rich was texting me from 3FN.
Right.
So yeah, this one is a brand new faction. I think they do get the win, in my opinion.
Probably.
Like, it just kind of sets up, but I like how they're slowly building Drake Maverick's story up there since they re-signed. So kudos to that.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the faction including the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, El Hijo del Fantasma. I think it's just, I'm not the biggest fan of this storyline, but like I get it, and I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going. So I think they're going to continue that with Legado del Fantasma winning that matchup. After that, you've got a street fight between Mia Yim and Candice LeRae.
Can't go wrong with this one.
Absolutely not.
This one could be a sleeper match on the night. Going to go with Candice, though. I think they're slowly setting up for her versus Io down the road. So I think that's what's going to.
Yeah. And then, according to the article I'm reading, one of the other matchups on the card is the winner takes all match between Adam Cole, the NXT champion, and Keith Lee, the North American champion.
This is your main event, period. I don't care on both shows. This is Dynamite. This is box office. This is what you want to see.
This is going to be nuts. This is going to be a spot fest. There's going to be chicanery galore.
Adam Cole, longest reigning NXT world champion.
Over 400 days.
Yep. Keith Lee, fast rising star through NXT. I mean, ever since Survivor Series last year, we had his breakout moments. And he has just been rising up the rankings right now. He is arguably the biggest face in NXT. Faces versus heels. He's definitely one of the well-known wrestlers on that card. I think it's his time. I think he's long overdue. He's going to be He's currently North American champion.
Yep.
I think he comes home with the title.
Oh, I think so too. Just you look at the body of work and just how much he's getting featured in programming, and with what happened at Survivor Series last year. This man has got like an old-fashioned, Ares rocket strapped to the back of him, like the ones that used to get to the moon in the 60s. He's just got a rocket strapped to his back. He's going to be a multi-time champion by the time his career is said and done.
Yeah.
I think he's got a very bright future.
Yeah, he's had breakout moments. I mean, throughout the year. I mean, Royal Rumble was another one too. So definitely the future is very bright for Keith Lee. I think he pulls home the win. I cannot wait to see this one.
No, it's going to be amazing. Flipping over to AEW Fyter Fest Night 2. Again, no particular order. You've got, for the AEW World Tag Team Championship, you've got Kenny Omega and Adam Page defending their belt against Private Party.
This is the replacement for Moxley, Brian Cage.
Okay.
So I understand they're trying to make something happen very quickly, but I'm sorry, I don't see Private Party getting the win. I'd love to see him get the win here, but I just don't see him getting the W.
Like we know, like everyone knows, I'm not the biggest AEW fan. I don't watch all their programming, but I do follow them on social media. I am aware of what they're doing, and I don't see Private Party getting featured all that much. So something tells me they're not going to win that matchup there. Just going based off of social media stuff alone. They're like, all right, if somebody starts getting featured a little bit more, that might be tipping off you're about to put a belt on them or something.
Yeah, like I understand they're trying to make something happen, but unless you follow all their YouTube channels, AEW storylines are so confusing. Like
that's one of my criticisms.
Yeah. Oh, you're not the only one. Trust me. Trust me.
Yeah. After that, you have another tag team matchup. This time, an 8-man tag team matchup between FTR, that being Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, formerly known as the Revival in WWE, and the Young Bucks taking on Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Bros. This one, I don't care who wins. This one is going to be a spot fest, and it's going to be absolutely bonkers. And I think this one eventually is going to set up a feud between at least two of these factions.
Yeah, this is just going to be a pure independent wrestling match. You're going to see more crazy spots hit in this match than you can even fathom right now.
I'll say, if you like spot fests, this is your matchup.
Yeah.
If you don't, switch to NXT.
Yeah, if you like storytelling, you're going to turn on the channel off on this one. I could see the Young Bucks and FTR winning, and then something happened after the match, because that's going to be the ultimate match.
I mean, that's a matchup everyone's waiting for.
And if they decide to do All Out, that's your main event.
Yeah,
I'm already going to tell you right now, that's going to be your main event. So I fully expect them to win, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to say the team of Butcher and the Blade and then Lucha Bros wins, but not because of them getting like a straight up like pin of one of the other guys. I think there's going to be some sort of underhandedness going on, that like FTR might go to help out the Young Bucks and end up causing them the match or something like that. That might set up something down the road, because let's face it, that's kind of the worst kept secret that matchup is coming.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you there.
Yeah. After that, you have another tag team matchup in the this time a 6-man tag team matchup between Colt Cabana and the Dark Order in Brody Lee and Stu Grayson versus SoCal Uncensored, that being Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and then Scorpio Sky.
They have been really trying to push this Colt Cabana joining the Dark Order angle. So
listen, it don't matter. SCU has currently the best T-shirt in professional wrestling.
Yeah, they do.
If you haven't seen it, go to AEW's shop website and look it up. It's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm taking Colton and the Dark Order on this one.
Yeah. No, I think as much as I love SCU and, this is the worst city we've ever been in, again, outside of maybe being featured in their YouTube channel stuff because, hey, they're friends with them, don't see them getting the win here because they're not featured all that much.
Yeah, I agree.
After that, you have Nyla Rose versus TBA. Unknown who it's going to be, so maybe a surprise entrance. Who knows?
Could be Tessa Blanchard. Could be. It could be anybody.
Yeah, who knows?
With the TBA, you never know. So
also the stipulation, TBA.
Yeah. All right. Then if it's stipulation, who knows?
Yeah.
So I'm just not going to make a pick on that one.
Yeah, no, neither am I. Hard to pick when you don't know who they're facing.
Yeah.
After that, in a singles matchup, you have Lance Archer taking on Joey Janela.
It's going to be a squash fest for Archer. So I don't get the love affair with it. I just don't.
Double count out. Nobody wins.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. And then after that, probably the most anticipated matchup until FTR goes up against Young Bucks, Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy.
If AEW is smart, you put over Orange Cassidy.
Yeah, we'll say Jericho certainly doesn't need it.
He doesn't need it. Orange Cassidy is arguably your biggest face on your roster.
Arguably the most over face in all of wrestling.
It's debatable. So why is he not getting pushed through the moon? I don't know. So this one, if they don't let him get the win, like he needs a very strong showing. But if you know his character, he's the
king of sloth style.
Yeah, he's the man that gets by doing absolutely nothing. So that being said, he's got to win.
Yeah,
he's got to win. Otherwise, it's why Jericho doesn't need the win. So why are we wasting time?
Who knows?
I don't know. We're going to find out this coming Wednesday night. So definitely jump on the social media. Hit us up at OD Parlay Hour. I'm going to be live tweeting probably AEW because Rich from 3FN usually takes NXT. So check him out over at 3 Fat Nerds Pod. And we'll be going back and forth live tweeting. Like I say, I usually keep it on AEW because we're splitting up. But I'll definitely be going back and forth on the shows because I'll be watching the other one on the Thursday. So it should be a fun night. I do like NXT's card, though. I like that one a little stronger. I think.
It's going to be awesome.
And I'm sorry, Adam Cole versus Keith Lee.
Sold.
That could be a match of the year candidate.
It's got potential.
It's got potential. It's probably going to live up to the hype. So I'm fully excited to see that. So definitely check it out. AEW's Fyter Fest will be on TNT Network Wednesday night, Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. And on the USA Network, it's going to be the NXT's Great American Bash, Night 2, also 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
So that being said, before I do the whole outro spiel that I usually give each and every week, we are in the midst of the Apocalypse Pod Raid. So one of our groups that we're in, shout out to everybody that's in the Apocalypse, we are now starting to do the Pod Raids, where we go, we check out a new show, we leave some reviews. We definitely want you to be familiar with the show. And in the liner notes for this podcast episode, we have links for Capes on the Couch, where comics get counseling. It's a very cool podcast. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're into comics. I know we're talking sports here, but it definitely has something to offer. So definitely head on over and check it out. It's in the show liner notes. Drop a review, drop a rating on Podchaser. Definitely let them know what you think of the show. I personally dig it, so we definitely want to be plugging that. And we're going to be plugging the Apocalypse Pod Raids during the sports show as we're going, because it's on every Tuesday as we record. So stay tuned for that. So that being said, Pad, the music you heard at the beginning of the show is that of Fair City Fire. They're our friends from Austin, Texas. They're doing a lot of big things down there. And Brian Wolf is still coming out with his Friday music on Instagram.
Okay.
He doesn't have, I don't think he has an official name for it, but we do share it on our Twitter and on our Instagram, because it's always hashtag Fair City Friday on a Friday. So if you want to find out what's going on with them, you want to find out what's going on with Shout at the Robots, Floodlands, Walking Distance, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Yard Party, the list goes on and on and on. Simple. Head on over to ochoduroparlayhour.com and check out the music section. You can also head on over to the ODPH directory, where you can check out what's going on with Tom from Off the Cuff Gaming. Still doing the Final Fantasy VII remake.
All right.
And he still is apologizing for Ratchet and Clank, Pat.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I figured he's still putting that out there. I know it's falling on deaf ears with you.
Yep.
I know there's a lot of anger there. So Tom, you got to step that game up. You got to work on that apology for him.
Yep.
Also on the ODPH directory, you can check out what's going on with Excite Wrestling. And Johnny Moose is always kind of posting something a little cryptic, so you never know what's going on there. And you can also check out all the amazing pod groups that we are in. So shout out to Pod Nation. Shout out to Alternate Reality Radio. Shout out to the Legion Independent Podcast. Shout out to hashtag 607 Podcast. And, of course, shout out to the Apocalypse. It's a tongue twister, if you will. But the Apocalypse is also doing their pod raids, as we mentioned, so definitely check it out. You can find all the links for our Podchaser list that we're on the ODPH directory, as well as organizational links for Black Lives Matter and voter registration. So all of that you can check out, with the Parlay Points blogs too going on, which is a complimentary piece to the ODPH. All of that and more on ochoduroparlayhour.com. That's all I got for this week. So for the one and only Padawan J.
Coach Duffy, not here because he's out trying to get John Calipari's autograph.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. See you next time.